Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and happy Friday, folks. We got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, can we talk about the big news out of Washington, D.C. with former Representative George Santos has officially been expelled from Congress, folks. We're going to share with you the latest details out of that. Also, today is World AIDS Day, so we're going to be checking in with the HRSA organization to give us some insight as to how the world is honoring those who have passed away with from the immuno disease and how we can become more prepared to answer those big questions. So today is World AIDS Day. Also, let's talk a little bit about Dr. Cornel West and where he is in his campaign. We'll have a conversation about that and how a Georgia bill aims to empower Black student entrepreneurs. So you can expect all of that and a whole lot more. Of course, we want to hear from you as our part of our culture crew. So stay with us and join the conversation right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, happy Friday. So big shout out to everybody on this Friday. There we go. Happy Friday, folks. Also, I'm going to just throw it out there. Happy Rosa Parks Day. Can we talk a little bit about, yeah, we talked a little bit yesterday. Happy Rosa Parks Day. But, you know, today we're going to have a lot of great conversations. So make sure y'all can be a part of the discussion. Join us in our chat. We're streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube under Roland Martin's YouTube page. And that's where you can join us to be a part of the official culture crew. And folks are checking in from around the country. As always, love to talk to the crew. We got Conscious Thought. Good afternoon, Culture Crew. Good afternoon, Conscious Thought. Good to connect with you once again, brother. Deidre Hall. Deidre, good afternoon to you. Thank you for being a part of the chat. My pastor, Pastor Damon Blissett. Pastor, thank you so much for those notes earlier today. I truly appreciate it. We were on the same page and thinking about those things. V. Griffin, thank you so much for checking in. As you say, good evening, everyone. Blessings. Jawan Yvette, thank you for checking in as always. Mrs. HP. Yeah. Oh, you say kangaroos can do better than these Republicans. Mrs. HP, you kicking it off real early. I see. I got you. I got you. Joe Martinez, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. I appreciate you for joining us. Reginald Grant, I see you. Thank you so much. And folks, again, you can join us right now on the chat as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. Also, we're streaming on our home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Just go to our website today, download the app for free, follow us on social media, and more importantly, we would love to have your financial support to continue to power us in this digital space that we are creating for Black news and content. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. And we're streaming on a number of other platforms, including Amazon News on your Fire TV. You can check us out there. Amazon Prime Video, you can check us out there. You can find us on Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, and then News. And we're also streaming on Freevee. You can see us there on Now under News. You can find us there. And Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just go search for Black Star Network on Freevee and find us under Live TV, News, and Opinion. All right, folks, let's talk about the big news that everybody has been discussing, which is the situation out of Washington, D.C., as Representative George Santos has officially been expelled from Congress, folks. And we talked about this. Y'all remember we had a conversation. They did, I think it was like a second attempt. This time it happened, but the last time it didn't. But this time it happened, and take a look. This is the latest coming from NBC News. The vote was overwhelming to get rid of, as they call him, the fabulist, the man who lies like no other, right? The vote was 311 to 114 with two voting present. Take a look at this. Santos, according to NBC News, Santos had already put his winter jacket on, left the chamber, and sped through the speaker's lobby before the vote total was announced. He knew the day was he knew it was over, y'all. Earlier this week, Speaker Mike Johnson, the representative out of Louisiana, said his leadership team wouldn't whip the vote one way or the other, instead allowing members to vote their conscience. But moments before the vote, he, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and GOP Conference Chair Elise Stefanik, one by one announced their opposition to removing the freshman fabulist. Johnson had previously signaled he would oppose expulsion, saying, quote, I personally have real reservation about things. I'm concerned about a precedent that may be set. Ooh. Ooh. All right, crew. What's your take on this as we talk about it? What do you think of this situation of former Representative George Santos being officially expelled from Congress? Part of the reason, of course, was the fact that he lied on his resume. He lied about his education. He lied about, of course, the big. Some people are just saying the straw that broke the camel's back was the fact that the House investigation created. They did an investigation of him and his background, and more importantly, his business affairs, and they found that he was defrauding so many people. They put out a scathing 56-page report about what they have found, and more importantly, making the point saying he's a liar. He is a pathological liar. They didn't use those words exactly, but they essentially said that. So I would love to get your take on this. Join us in the chat right now. And we would love to hear from what you have to say. All right, this is HP. You say Don the Con still has him beat. Don the Con. I like that. That's a different name for him. Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. And this is why I think it is important for us to have this part of the conversation. I knew it was going to come up. I knew it was going to come up. And I knew that this was part of the reason that some people were opposing this. As I just mentioned, Speaker Johnson talked about the dangerous precedent. Because if you start putting politicians out of office or out of their position because they're lying, ooh, folks, isn't that everyone? So I guess the question becomes, where's the line? Where are the boundaries in this whole situation, right? Like, if this is the precedent, is it because he lied? Is it because what he lied about? Is it because his lying set, left a stain on the GOP? It's not very clear, but it leaves open the door for conversation about politicians being ethical, being accountable, being honest. What do you say? Joe Martinez, you said an American president or a fascist Trump? Damon, Pastor Damon, you said bye, Felicia. Don't let the door hit you where, well, you know the rest. I do know the rest, Pastor. I do know the rest. Mrs. HP, you said Santos and Trump can be sellies. Wow. Reginald Grant, you pulled up some scripture out of Galatians. You read Galatians 6:7. One by one, they're reaping what was willfully sown. And Jawan Yvette, you said, so they expelled, thank you, Brother Reginald. You said, so they expelled Santos, and rightfully so, but they're still staying with the guy who has 4 incidents and 91 felony counts for their presidential nominee. Make it make sense. That's why Speaker Johnson was like, oh, if we do this, somebody's going to pull the carpet under us because one of the biggest liars in government is our nominee. I know he's thinking that. Jawan. He's thinking that. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk a little bit more about this and get your take on this. Then we're going to shift gears and talking about World AIDS Day. Folks, we just getting the conversation started. Stay with us. We got a lot more than the first half of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We're talking about the big news out of D.C. as Representative George Santos has officially been expelled from Congress because of his lying ways, folks. And this really came out of the efforts from New York Republicans who were actually pushing to oust him much earlier than this point. And we talked about this before, guys. And a lot of those New York Republicans, they had felt like Mr. Santos was becoming a major, major liability. And so people that were in the same, what they call a quote unquote freshman class as Mr. Santos, Representatives Anthony Esposito, Nick LaLota, and Mark Molinaro, those three individuals were fellow New York Republicans who led the charge to get him ousted. So it's going to be very, very interesting to say the least what happens, like how this whole thing went down. Now they are going to be looking forward to holding a special election to try to fill that seat that has been left by George Santos. Now, the other thing is, with that being said, a couple of historical facts. This means that New York's 3rd Congressional District would not have a member representing it during votes during a replacement until a replacement is elected. So they're looking to see how they can set something up. This is very interesting. Twice has the GOP taken historic, precedented acts to oust its members. First, you had the situation with the House Speaker that was with McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy. he being ousted out of his position as House Speaker. Now you have this. What is happening in the GOP, folks? What is really, really happening? And so this is different. This is very different. But I want to go back to what Jawan, one of our great culture crew members, said. Jawan, I want to go, I like your comment. How do they stand with the man who has four indictments and 91 felony counts as the presidential nominee? That's going to be, I think, one of the big questions hovering over the GOP moving forward, especially those out of New York. Especially those out of New York. ABX girl, my sister, you checked in and said, look, it was hilarious when PBS showed the locks to his office being changed. We should also thank a small local newspaper who started the news stories about Santos. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that to the point of the importance of independent local news, this shows you exactly why it's important for us to have that local news, that to support local news, right? This is the perfect example of that. Pauline, my sister, you said it took them long enough to throw out the trash. Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, you don't like my music. You check it in. Good to connect with you once again, sir. You said now Santos will have more time to spend on his charity work. Come on, man, get out of here. But this is one of those moments, folks, where you're like, this is, as you could find some level of levity in the situation, but look how long it took. And more importantly, I would think as a voter of Santos, a supporter of Santos, I would be really, really sad right now. I would be really, really sad because you feel duped. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you've been fooled, right? And bamboozled into believing this guy. And then you wind up, then you realize that this guy is a fraud, that he is not the person who he says he is. And all of that's attached to it. And then at the end of the day, it's like you really put your hope and belief in a man who you thought was going to take your district to the next level. And look what happened. And look what happened. And it's really, and truthfully, folks, this is not just a situation out of New York or just about one person. This is an indicator of where we are in the political space for across the whole spectrum. And I don't know how the GOP is going to recover or how the GOP is going to kind of move forward from this, considering that this is a stain on them as well. And even the fact that the House Speaker talking about he still wouldn't have, he's in opposition to the voting. Like, this is a real problem. If you don't have individuals, and nobody expects you to be Jesus in Congress, but if you don't have individuals who are, what's the right word I'm looking for, folks? Decent, generally honest. Nobody can be perfect. We all tell lies, but certain things you don't just lie about. Your education, your background. I mean, certain things you don't need to lie about. If you just have good, decent folks that are trying to do the job, then this is a cautionary tale. This is a cautionary tale. Republican, you said they're trying to out Santos, but let Trump and the other white folks do whatever they want. I mean, and it's this. I'm telling you, that's going to be one of the big question marks going into the next year, of course, going into the next cycle of the election season. Like, what do you do with Trump? If you can put out a man who's been lying about all this stuff, then what can you do about a man who not only lies, but also incites with his lies, also puts stuff into action with his lies, also encourages other people to lie with his lies? Then what do you do about him? Also, who not just had an investigation from the House, but have legitimately 91 counts against him and indictments against him. What do you do about him? Mrs. HP, you said they don't care. It's about money and power. And that's what it comes down to, folks. And that's what I think it comes down to. But it's about money and power at the expense of the American people, at the expense of the New York voter, at the expense of us trusting the government. That's what it comes down to. At the expense of us having a serious level of confidence and trust in this government. Yes, they did it, but look how long they did it. You know, it's like, oh, okay, you finally did something that should have been done a long time ago. You finally corrected an error. And y'all remember, and before this whole report came out from the House investigation, y'all remember George Santos was talking about running for re-election. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. And for some, they were going to enable him and allow him to do that. So this is a cautionary tale for democracy. Not just one man, not just one district, but for democracy. And if we can start to weed out those individuals, and that is happening on the GOP side, we know what happens on the Democrat side, then we may have a chance to save this government and America. All right, folks, I got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about World's AIDS Day. We're going to be checking in with the HRSA organization and giving us some insight as to what we could do, how far we've come along in the battle against the epidemic. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about what today is. And today is World's AIDS Day, folks. That's right. This year's theme is World's AIDS Day 35, Remember and Commit. And of course, each and every year, we take time to honor those who have been lost to AIDS, but more importantly, we take this time to serve as a reminder of the global struggle to end HIV-related stigma, as well as to create a call to action to make a commitment to working toward a day where HIV is no longer a public health threat, folks. So we wanted to do our part here on the Culture on the Black Star Network to talk about this issue. And there's no other great person to talk about this other than with our very special guest today, Sister Yemisi Odusanya, who serves as a senior advisor for the HIV/AIDS Bureau for HRSA, which is the Health Resources and Services Administration. And so, Sister Yemisi, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture. How are you this afternoon?
I am well, and thank you for having me. You pronounce my name so well. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You just brought a big smile to my face.
Well, with a name like Farajii Muhammad, I've gone through some iterations from various people, so I totally understand. And it's very important that I make sure that people's names are correct. But I appreciate you, sis, for joining us today. World AIDS Day. This has been something that has been around for the past 35 years, actually, and it is a part of our culture, but it's still a lot of, I would say, a lot of cloudiness around it. You know what I mean? It's still not totally embraced to the point like other acknowledgments or other holidays. But what's your take on where we are with this epidemic here as we look at, this year's theme of remember and committing and making sure that people understand that this public health crisis is not over yet. This is not done.
Thank you so much for having me on the show and for bringing up
You're
that
welcome.
question. As you mentioned, our theme this year is remember and commit. So remembering those who have lost their lives to HIV, as well as committing to the awareness of HIV. HIV still exists, and a lot of people have forgotten about it, but there are still people living with HIV, still people contracting HIV, and it is something that we do not want people to forget, Last year alone, 1.3 million individuals worldwide contracted HIV. So it's still a big thing. And on today, December 1st, World AIDS Day, this is just another opportunity to remind people that HIV is still here. We've made a lot of progress over the years, but we still have a long way to go. So we just want people to remember that HIV is still here and to do what they can to stay healthy, which means getting tested, which means talking about HIV. And if you do test positive, it means taking care of your health and utilizing the resources that are provided to you, especially through our website.
So and I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because a lot of times when you have a conversation about AIDS, I grew up in the 80s, I grew up in the 90s, and I remember even as a little boy, Sister Yemisi, that this was like a huge thing back in the day, right, in the 80s and 90s. We don't hear so many, or we don't see as much public like health announcements or public health conversations about this quite as much. Why is that?
I think many reasons, because there's a lot going on in the world, but also because people are living longer with HIV. So
Okay.
the threat anymore, but it is still a threat. And we want to make sure that, prevention is better than cure. I heard that growing up a lot. So if you can prevent yourself from contracting HIV, you can stay healthier. But like you mentioned, we don't hear about it as much because there's so many other things happening. But it's important for us to remember on days like today and other awareness days that HIV is still here.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about these statistics that HRSA has put together to look at this. And then, let's talk about how this applied to Black America. In 2022, 39 people across the globe were living with HIV. And it also shows that you guys were doing a high level of engagement, funding grants to various cities and counties and states and local community-based organizations. last year, the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program that's part of HRSA, you served more than 550,000 people with HIV in the U.S. And then in last year, in 2022, 9 out of 10 clients receiving HIV medical care from the Ryan White HIV program were virally suppressed, which is an increase from 69.5% in 2010 and higher than the 65.9% viral suppression national average. So you guys are doing a lot of work making sure that this situation, this epidemic stays at least contained until it's completely eliminated. And I'm wondering, is that because there is more awareness, or is that because there are new medications out there? And like you mentioned, more people are now living with HIV, and they're living with HIV a lot longer. How would you say, what were some of the contributing factors for the work you guys are doing?
I think there's several things that we're doing. Like you said, our mission is to ensure that people have access across the nation. We want to make access to HIV care. We want to make sure that those who are seeking care and treatment are able to get it. We ensure that people live a healthy lifestyle. There is a lot of awareness. Social media has done a lot of great things to help eliminate or reduce the spreading of this virus. We do have a website, which we post a lot on. We have our social media platforms. But I think one of the biggest things that we're seeing is that we are trying to educate people a little bit more. So in order for you to stay healthy, you need to know what healthy is. You need to know what are the steps you need to do to stay healthy. So for example, on days like today, we really want to encourage folks to get tested. It is so important to get tested. You cannot stay healthy or keep those you love and who are around you healthy if you're not tested, if you don't know your status. So we encourage people to go to gettested.cdc.gov. That's a website that our federal colleagues host at the CDC. And all you have to do is put your zip code in, and you're able to find testing centers throughout the United States. It's also important for us to be comfortable having conversations around HIV, just like we're doing today. Once we're educated on what is happening, we're at a better place to stay healthy and to make sure those around us are healthy.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick pause, Sister UMC, but when we come back, let's talk about one of the major stigmas that people may still have around this whole situation. You don't like my music. You said there was such a stigma surrounding AIDS in the early days. People assumed you were either promiscuous, can't even get the word out, promiscuously gay, or even a junkie. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit more about that. And I appreciate you for posting that, you don't like my music, because I think that is one of the big things that has prevented people from getting tested, from preventing conversations from happening, and more importantly, preventing folks from saving lives. Like, we are a part of the solution, and that we can help other people save lives. And it could be a much different culture for people to come out and say, look, I have HIV, but my life is still can move forward. I can still live. I can still be the best person I can be. So I want to kind of get your take on where we are with that. Folks, stay with us. The conversation continues as we continue to talk about today being World's HIV/AIDS Day. Today is World's AIDS Day, excuse me. So stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, We're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking to Sister Yemisi Odusanya, who serves as the Senior Advisor for HRSA, and this is the Health Resources and Service Administration as part of the HIV/AIDS program, the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program. And she's joining us today to talk about today being World AIDS Day. And folks, we want to encourage you to join us in the conversation as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page to be a part of our illustrious culture crew with your comments, your thoughts, and your questions. So, Sister Yemisi, let's talk a little bit about this ongoing stigma, because one of our culture crew members made the point that, like many of us, there's been a lot of stigma surrounding AIDS. This is from You Don't Like My Music, and he said, people assumed you were either promiscuously gay or a junkie. What community is impacted the most with HIV/AIDS cases? Is it Black people? Is it the LGBTQ community? Is it drug users? Who are affected the most at this point?
I would say that I can understand the point that your listener mentioned. That is the stigma that most people have, but that is not the truth. I just want to share some statistic with you so you can understand where we are, especially as a Black community. African Americans and Blacks represent 13% of the U.S. population. And the same population accounts for over 40% of new HIV infections in the United States. That's over.
Say that again for me.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'll say it slowly so you can register. Blacks and African Americans represent 13% of the U.S. population. However, Blacks and African American account for 42% of new HIV infections in the U.S. That means our brothers and sisters are getting hit really hard, and we're not even 40% of the population. It's key for us to understand this. There is a stigma around HIV because people don't understand HIV. And that's what we want to do on World AIDS Day. Many people are, spreading HIV and they don't even know they have HIV. they don't. Some people know and they're not getting treatment, or some people are getting treatment and are still spreading. One of the things that I can say is an accomplishment in the HIV community is that we have come a long way. Many years ago, if you tested positive for HIV, you had what we would call a cocktail that you had to take, a mixture of 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 pills just to stay alive, just to stay healthy. Now, you can take a pill a day, 1 pill a day, or even a shot a month. And if you take this routinely, if you take this regularly as your doctor prescribes, you can become virally suppressed. And what does that mean? That you cannot spread HIV to your sexual partners. It's important.
And that's with the assistance of medication, though, either the shot
Absolutely.
or with the pill.
Yes.
So you can, and I mean, this is mind blowing, Sister Yemisi, because I know you know it and I know it. Like, to have a conversation about HIV, to be able to get some sort of treatment, and then not to pass HIV on to your next sexual partner. I mean, that is like light years from where we have been.
Absolutely. And it's important for people to know this. And if you know that you can still live a healthy life with HIV, you're more prone to get tested. You know, before, people were scared to get tested because they didn't want a death sentence. We're not talking about death sentences anymore. We are talking about healthy lifestyles. We're talking about living well. That is if you take your medication regularly. And I think if we reduce that stigma of you're going to die tomorrow, or you have been messy, or you have been careless, more people will be encouraged to get tested, to know their status, and to talk about their status with their partners.
To talk about your status with your partners has to be one of the most anxiety-filled, stressful situations. No, I can only imagine. I can really only imagine that you want to open, for full transparency, full disclosure, and you let your partner know, like, hey, before we move forward, I do want to let you know that I am, I have contracted HIV. However,
yes,
I am taking medication. I am on a treatment plan, and I am living well, and I'm making sure that you're. But people, I mean, come on, Sister Yemisi. You know how some people get like, what?
It's
HIV.
It's a difficult conversation to have, but it's a conversation that is required. One of the things I've learned over time, not just with HIV, but in general, is the more you talk about something, the more comfortable you become talking about it. It's more of a, let me share this with you and let you know I'm thinking about you just like I'm thinking about myself. I think it's important for us to remember that we owe it to ourselves and owe it to our sexual partners to be transparent. And if that means going to take a test together so that we can both share our status, that's something we can do. And if I test positive, these are the things that I'm doing to make sure that you are safe. And this is information that's on our website. It can be verified. These are not just ideas that we're throwing out.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that if you are virally suppressed, you are unable to transmit HIV to your partners. And I think if more people understand that, they're aware of it, they're comfortable talking about it, they'll be able to, help educate other people. It's not easy, but it's required. It's necessary.
My pastor, David Blissett, you said, brother, hey, Farajii, this chat can be wild. It can be wild. The conversation can be mind blowing. But you know what? I think that if people understood that we're in a new day and time with this whole situation, that people really are trying their best to live right? And I think that level of honesty and transparency is absolutely important. We got like a minute or so left, Sister Yemisi. I want to get your take on something else that you don't like my music posted. He said, I think Magic Johnson helped shatter that stigma.
Yeah.
Do we need to have more quote unquote Magic Johnsons to step up and to talk about this publicly in some way? And how does that help? Or does that hinder things from happening?
Absolutely. Magic Johnson was an ambassador. He knew that him coming out publicly would help his people. And when I say his people, I just want to share, the National AIDS Strategy defined priority populations, which include Black MSM, who are 26% of the new infections, and Black women, who are over 50% of new infections. It's important for us to know how much or the impact that HIV has on our community. And when we know better, we do better. We could have several Magic Johnsons, but if people don't know that there is access to care, there's treatment, there are resources, we may be in the same place. So I want to encourage people to go to our website, which is whyamright.HRSA.gov. Also, if you are interested in getting tested, which we highly recommend that you get tested, go to our federal colleagues website, which is gettested.cdc.gov. And if you are tested positive, just know that there still is an opportunity for you to have a healthy life. If you follow your provider's recommendations, if you take your pills, if you stay healthy, you can still live a healthy life. We've tried our best to do a lot to get to the community. We've had listening sessions. We've been in the community. Farajii, you've been there with us at different festivals. So it's important for us to keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. And I just the question, I know we got to take another pause and let you go, but the question that just popped into my head was, if you find that you may have missed taking your medication, missing the shot for the month, does that increase the chance of you passing HIV on to your next partner?
Well, what we recommend and what I would say is that you cannot transmit HIV if you are virally suppressed. I don't want to give a blanket statement. I'm not a physician about if you miss one pill or two. But what I would say is try your very best to stay on your regimen. Take it every day, just like you do with your multivitamin. And that will get you to a viral suppression level, and you will not be able to transmit HIV to your partners.
That is incredible. We have come a long way, Sister Yemisi, and it is good to hear that there's some light and hope at the end of the tunnel. Kalia Green, you said after 40 plus years, everyone should be comfortable. It's very unfortunate that there's still a stigma. Absolutely. If we created a safe space for people to share, I'm sure that this process can go a lot smoother, but you're absolutely right. After all this time, it should not be crazy to have the conversation. And Pretty Brown Mimi 726, my sister, you said this day can open a discussion about your status for HIV, chlamydia, herpes, etc. Know your status for everything.
Yes, that is so true. And I will say, Farajii, because you are allowing this platform to have this conversation, I think it will motivate more people to get tested, more people to talk about their status, and more people to get educated on what HIV is. Absolutely. So I want to thank you for this platform and spreading
Absolutely.
the word.
Absolutely. Sister Yemisi, thank you so much. Our sister who serves as the senior advisor for the HIV/AIDS program for the Human Resources and Service Administration, HRSA. She's doing her part to talk to us about World AIDS Day. And I appreciate you, sis, for coming on to the show. And of course, being so good for the culture.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, sis. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about Dr. Cornel West, yes, and how he could really make an impact in the presidential candidates in the presidential campaign. We're going to be checking in with Culture Crew member, my sister, Corinna Denise. She's going to be joining us about that. Also, let's talk about how a new Georgia bill will be empowering the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. We'll have that conversation with Corinna and more. So stay with us. It's all happening on the second half of The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. And happy Friday. Happy Proposed Rosa Parks Day. That's right. Happy World's AIDS Day. A lot of things happening today. But thank you so much for being here and joining us. Let's shift gears, talking from health and well-being to let's jump a little bit into politics and culture, because this is the intersection that we find this next person in, and I'm speaking of none other than third-party candidate Dr. Cornel West. Now, y'all remember I said yesterday we were going to have a conversation about this. Well, I wanted to have this discussion with my sister, who is no stranger to the Culture Crew, and certainly no stranger to being on air with us. She joins us every Friday, and I'm very, very happy that she's able to once again be a part of the conversation. My sister, Corinna Denise, who is a college advisor and an activist and she's a political just like me. So, Corinna, thank you so much. Corinna, every time you come on a show, I got to get your stylist. Every time.
Thank you.
I just be having my locks, and be having your locks locking, and then curls curling, and then I can't.
I really appreciate you noticing, because Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Corinna. All right, let's talk about presidential candidate, philosopher, professor, author, Dr. Cornel West. And here's why I wanted to talk about it. One is because I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that he's a part of the conversation in some way, shape, or form, right? So we got to open ourselves up, and we're going to do our part, God willing, folks. We're going to do our part to see if we can get Dr. West on. and have a conversation with him. I'm being very serious. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think some of the culture crew would love to hear from him himself, right? He posed some questions, so we're going to do our part to do that, to make that happen. But let's look at where we are with his, where he is with his campaign. NBC News did a story about him. And one of the things that they talked about is this uphill battle, his plan to grow his quote unquote embryonic, that's how he describes it, embryonic campaign. And he said that his strategy is be like jazz and improvise. If that's not classic Cornel West talking, I don't know what is. Be like jazz and improvise. Here's what the situation is. Take a look at this. This is from NBC News. And they're saying that he said, quote, we're still in the embryonic stage. This is what he acknowledged in an interview with NBC. He said, the last thing I want to do is have huge rallies now and peak too soon. Now, he has only about 10 staffers. His wife helps handle media requests. He's conducted no internal polling. He has held only one public campaign rally. His bank balance is 2 digits shorter than those of his rivals. He's raised hundreds of thousands so far, while others have brought in tens of millions. And he's sworn off outside help from a super PAC, which could have helped make the difference. Look at your face, got real quiet and serious there, Corinna.
No, I was just thinking too, Farajii, I think it's important to share with the audience, for those who may not know, that Dr. West is no longer running through the Green Party, but as an independent. So that even changes the landscape for him. Additionally to, already being a third party candidate, but to switch from Green Party to independent, that's going to be more challenging to get on all of those ballots in all 50 states. But it sounds like he has a plan, right, Farajii?
Well, I think now I don't know what kind of plan. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what his strategy. I mean, I love the spirit. I love the energy. He's like, be like jazz, improvise. But with the little bit of information and knowledge that I do have about campaigning, some of these things are not in places or part of his infrastructure. And I don't know how he is able to grow his audience. I don't know how he's going to take his campaign to the next level if he doesn't have certain elements in place.
And in just a year, we don't have very much time.
Right.
So time is of essence.
And it's a lot of time. It's very little time. But one of the uphill battles, and I want to kind of get your take on this before, after we come back from break. But one of the uphill battles is simply getting his name on a number of ballots across the country, in states across the country. Yeah. He is struggling to make that happen. And I mean, there are fees that are attached. There are other documents that have to be, signed, and other things that have to be done. But of course, the money to get on these ballots, that's one of his battles. That's going to be one of his battles. And I'm wondering, considering the national name recognition that Dr. Cornel West truly has, right? Especially among Black America, why we aren't seeing as many other Black folks, high profile, some of our celebrities investing in his campaign. Now I'm wondering, could potentially be an issue down the road if he's not getting, he's sworn off no super PACs. He doesn't want special interest money and all of that stuff. That's fine. But why don't you think we're seeing some sort of ground support from, whether it's high profile celebrity folks, or if we're talking about even, just the, quote unquote regular folks that give $5 or $10. I remember Obama when he ran, he $5 and $10 all of us. He nickel and dimed us until he won the presidency, right? Yeah. So I'm wondering why he didn't put something like that in as part of his campaign.
We're in different times right now. We're at a pivotal moment, a pivotal turning point, and it's challenging to run for president alone, much less to be an independent candidate. And at that, it's even much more challenging to try and defeat the current incumbent. You're running against the current elected president of the United States. You know what I mean? So that's no easy feat. So yeah, I think, a lot of people are looking at this as a whole. Like, are we going to support, our president who is currently in office? Are we going to risk it to get somebody else? And, while you and I talk about also a lot of the time, Farajii, how important that legislative branch is, are all the pieces going to connect so that government functions how we want it to function? So there's just so many other pieces to the puzzle. And yeah, I mean, it's going to take a lot of groundwork. And how do you cover all that ground being an independent voter in less than a year? On top of, we're on the verge of fascism. There's just so many other deterrents at play that could, weigh him down, unfortunately, and any other candidate who would get into the race.
Ain't that so? Look, I got to take a quick pause when we come forward. Let's continue the conversation about Dr. Cornel West. Can he grow his campaign? Can he even legitimize himself even more? Can he make sure that he is a force to be reckoned with in this political space? We're going to continue the conversation on the other side. I got my sister Corinna Denise, and I got you, Culture Crew. Post your comments on the chat as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page. I would love to get your take on this, and let's have a conversation about Dr. Cornel West. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We've been talking about Dr. Cornel West as we're asking the question, can Dr. West grow his campaign? Now, based upon a new NBC News interview, Dr. West is trying to, he's improvising, he's moving and navigating in a different manner that we have seen with traditional candidates. And given the fact that he has very little help, 10 staffers to be exact, his wife is helping him with his campaign. He doesn't have as much money, he doesn't have a lot of money as of right now. He has decided to not get the assistance of any type of super PAC, which they, according to the report, could have make the difference in getting his name on a number of ballots in a number of different states across the country. And let's point out the fact that he is no longer running as a member of the Green Party, but he's actually running as an independent. And I want to share this with you folks. Take a look at this, that in that same report, it says as an independent, it's now entirely up to West and his team to get his name on the ballot in every state, each of which have their own unique rules requiring some combinations of fees and signatures with state-based restrictions on who can collect those signatures and where. So he's got a mountain to climb up, folks. He's got a mountain. But if you talk to not Kanye West, Dr. Cornel West, let me bring my sister, Coretta.
No, we don't want that, West. Come on now. Not for this.
That was a Freudian slip. I'm not saying Kanye should run.
Very good.
But you can't put the two at all in the same category. But if we're looking at this, it looks like Dr. West is running a campaign that's a campaign for nowhere. And I hate to say that because I think, like Pretty Brown Mimi 726, Mimi said this. She was like, Kanye West is a brilliant man. He's absolutely brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant, right? And he put himself out there, and I'm keeping tabs on where things are with his campaign. But I'm really like looking at us as a people and wondering.
Not to sidetrack, but I mean, as far as Kanye, I think it's arguable that okay, that a lot of that from him was ego, more so than
for Kanye.
Yeah, more so than I want to actually do something for the
hell yeah, Coretta, hell yeah.
But I'll say that. Yeah,
right,
you got a big ego, like Beyonce said. Yeah, big ego. But anyways, with Dr. West, it's I really just don't see a path forward. I mean, by the time you work so hard to get your name on all the ballots, right? All 50 ballots, you got to go through that process. Then you got to do that on the ground work, which is so important. And I just wonder if Dr. West considered maybe running for a House seat or a Senate seat, where something that might have been, in my view, a more attainable goal than this.
I bet you, hey, Coretta, I bet you that question has been posed to him at least 1 million times. At least 1 million times. I'm sure as he travels across this country, every place that he goes, there's some black person, some person who is pulling him to the side and say, hey, Doc, hey, look, I'm with you, man, but I don't think you know what I'm saying, no disrespect, but this is a tall order for you. Why not run for a lower office? Yeah. And I bet you, if you listen to Cornel West, I can bet you what he might say to a response like that. I don't even have to talk to him. He's going to say that the time requires us to step out on faith. And he might use some big words, some existential faith.
You know what? We should always
have
faith, but we can't have unrealistic expectations either. It's too crucial. It's too important. We can't just, we can step out on faith, but Dr. West, with all due respect, is admirable, but how do you build the infrastructure required in less than a year? How does that happen?
It's a couple of things. I think that it's not just about money, right? I mean, certainly that's a huge part of it. But I truly believe Dr. Cornel West is running on one key idea, which is what I like to call conscious campaigning. He is trying to appeal to the moral, to the conscious, and to the moral sensibility in our consciousness to see that this whole thing, this thing that we put our hope in called government, this thing that we put our hope in called democracy, can be changed and can speak to every single human being. Because I don't think he talks about just black folks. I think he truly believes that it can be different. We can have a different relationship.
I think too, we would actually see something very successful out of Dr. West's campaign if we can just see him on that debate stage. I think to your point, Farajii, with that moral consciousness, let's say even to challenge our current POTUS, right, losing office, it would push other candidates to speak on issues that they would probably, neglect, dance around, and would want to avoid. So yeah, I think seeing him on the debate stage, he would definitely push and raise, questions and arguments about things that are definitely important to us. But yeah, I just don't see a path forward for Dr. West. I think some good could definitely come out of his candidacy. But right now, like I said, we're just at too pivotal of a moment. And I just wonder, with a team of 10, how long can you sustain, given, the time, the effort, raising money, to keep your team going, and you have a year. So I don't know. It has yet to be seen what will happen, but I just don't see a path forward. I know some folks in the online crew are probably going to disagree with me. But here's my thing, like, show me the plan, how it actually comes to fruition. Explain it in detail, clearly and precisely. And maybe
I don't think, I agree. I understand your concern. I don't think that, I think Dr. West can be a metric, a litmus test for Black America. And here's why I say this. We always saying that we want our boldest, our brightest, our brilliant to stand up and do something. We always encourage people. Now, when we do have one of our boldest, our brightest, and one of our brilliant people do stand up, like a Dr. Cornel West, right? You might disagree with him on some things, and that's, you're not going to agree 1,000% with anybody. You might disagree with him on some things, but you cannot say that he doesn't care. You cannot say that he doesn't.
Oh no, believe. Absolutely. I mean, he cares.
You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. We were presented with Barack Obama, and I'm just saying for Black America, right? When we talk about what is it that we want in our next political leader, right? Outside of Biden and all of the Democratic Party, if Black America had a chance to say, what does my ideal candidate looks like? Will it look like a Barack Obama? Will it look like a Cornel West? What does the candidate that Black people can support? Now, according to the numbers, it looks like Obama would win that with a landslide, right? The type of person he is, his views, he would get that, right? But even today in Black America, we still don't fully agree. And some of us think President Obama didn't even do anything. Right?
Yeah, and that's a lot of that.
So who is the candidate? Who's the candidate? You have both of them are two brilliant men. Both of them have a love for Black people and love for people in general. I think they both understand the complexities of democracy and where we are. I think they have, keen analysis about the state of affairs of this country. Who will Black people support outside of the two main parties? Who would that be?
Well,
what does that person look like?
Farajii, just real quick, some folks might also consider, well, he's never been in political office, at least not, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that he has held any elected office before. So that might raise some questions with some folks. Now, I'm not implying that would disqualify him as a candidate, but I'm just simply speaking to what some folks might be thinking, right? To your point, Farajii, when you're comparing maybe a Dr. West, former President Obama, and looking at their record, maybe just the paper trail, right? Their achievements, their experiences, their professional work. as far as their candidacy? Would they see them as a viable option? As to that, their philosophy, their beliefs, but it gets challenging, if you are running against maybe a former politician, you might have one side there comparing legislation that someone who has been in office has passed or has pushed, compared to someone else based on just their moral beliefs or higher level of consciousness or where they stand or how they have advocated for people. So there's just so many, factors. How do you narrow that down?
Absolutely.
And I see here too, Lise is saying that he worked as a senior advisor in 2000 to Democratic candidate Bill Bradley, and some asked him to run in 2004 as a Green Party member, but he declined. Interesting. And he also worked on Al Sharpton's 2004 presidential run. Yeah, thanks for that, Lise. That's some info that I did not know.
That is, and look at that. Look at that. Al Sharpton ran for office. Jesse Jackson ran for office. I'm talking about
that's true, right? As we're having this conversation, it kind of brings back memory, and we kind of review to see
like when Jesse Jackson ran for office, there were a number of black folks, right, that were excited. When Al Sharpton ran for office, we could go down. There have been black men. I don't think too many black women. As far as in team, I want to say this to my team. If they are, please let me know. But we know that there are certain black men that have come out of the black national civil rights movement ilk that have decided to throw their hand in running for office for the big seat, right? And how many black folks, and I'm just trying to expose a pattern here. And again, it might just be Obama, but how many of us have truly or will truly support a black candidate who's running for the big seat without telling that candidate, maybe you should lower your expectations to maybe a council person or maybe a mayor or maybe a senator or representative in the House of Representatives? How many of us? Because if we met Obama in 2006, in 2007, we probably wouldn't have voted for him. 2004?
I mean, I think this conversation would be different, and maybe Dr. West's traction might be a little different as we're looking at it right now if we weren't in such a pivotal crossroads. The landscape would be totally different.
And I got to take a
break. We're
break.
not in politics as usual, so, no.
When have black folks ever been in the politics as usual?
I mean, that's true, too, but, we're on the verge of getting birthright citizenship revoked and all the rights taken away. So, yeah.
But I understand what you're saying in terms of, but this has been, look, black folks in this country, we have been in a quote unquote state of crisis in our political expression for the past, since we could even vote. We have been in a state of crisis. Now the state of crisis has heightened because now we're talking about defending, preserving democracy, but that's more on the shoulders of white America. Black folks, we've been in crisis for years. You see what I'm saying? Now white America is feeling the bricks fall of the breakdown of democracy, and therefore it's a crisis.
Let them feel.
Let us take a break. Let's take another pause. Folks, stay with us as we continue the conversation. I would love to get your take, post your comments on Roland Martin's YouTube page, and let's continue to have this conversation. Can Dr. Cornel West grow his campaign? Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together, so let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Your host, Farajii Muhammad, checking in with my sister, Corinna Denise, college advisor, activist, Politico, as we talk about, can Dr. West grow his campaign? And I wanted to get some Culture Crew comments on this, some crew comments on this, Corinna, because folks are checking. Yeah, oh my gosh. What are they saying? What are they not saying? Real Brooklyn, our guy, Real Brooklyn, you say Cornel West need to understand that morality and convictions does not run this government. He does not have the political mindset to be a plausible dirtiness politician. I like that. I like that. I like that.
Point taken.
I think that's a great point. I think Real Brooklyn, we already know that. He knows that. But I think he's trying to usher in some sort of awakening. I'm going to use that term, more of a spiritual, metaphysical place that we find ourselves in. But he's not the only one that actually is trying to kind of usher that in. Even candidate Marianne Williamson, she, the spiritual advisor, the entrepreneur, the author, she's doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Trying to appeal to the moral sensibilities and to one's belief system of what is right and what is wrong. So will they make great politicians? Not in the context or in the system that we're in, but can they lead people? Yes.
Yeah, yes. I definitely think they could lead, but it's just a matter of getting there, right? There's so many weeds you need to pluck and pull out before you can even get there, and I'll just say this, since you mentioned moral conscience, it just makes me think of like the Montgomery bus cop, right? Bus boycott. If they didn't desegregate the buses because of any moral plea, like, oh yeah, it's wrong to make Black people sit at the back of the bus, their pockets were hurting for a very long time. And these folks unfortunately only understand green. So they hit them first, right? You said it's not true?
No, I say absolutely. I agree.
Oh, okay, yeah. But, they hit them in their pockets, so they were hurting. So then they're like, okay, what can we live with? I guess we can live with them being integrated with us on the bus because we really want to keep the green pieces of paper rolling in, So moral conscience, I think it would be to our betterment, right, as a people to understand morality in terms of our history and how the system works so that we can, root all the racist, foundational aspects of it, right? And to awaken our consciousness so that we go to the ballot box and learn how to hold politicians accountable, and consider ourselves to be almost like HR, human resources. We got the hire and the firepower. We don't have to be battling these folks. But, yes, a moral plea doesn't always resonate when you're in the well of the Senate trying to pass a bill. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And unfortunately, you got to play dirty sometimes to push things forward. You got to cut up to get results, unfortunately. It sounds like
absolutely
have been extreme.
Right. Well, and it's understandable that there's this morality thing, but it's a hard thing to talking about morality in the United States government in the same sentence. It's a hard thing to talk about consciousness in the United States government in the same sentence, right? Because we're finding that the talk is one thing, the actions are another. And I think that is the point about this. Francesca, you pointed out, you said, look, I stopped liking Dr. West when he had a function and invited Obama to attend. Barack couldn't make it, so he sent Michelle instead. West was livid, and he and Tavis Smiley went on a smear Obama campaign.
I do recall
so
that.
they had their disagreements. They had it. Then I'm speaking of Dr. West and former President Barack Obama. They definitely had their disagreements. It was public. He actually was like a surrogate for President Obama at one point in time, but they had a falling out. But I don't know if, again, going back to, and Francesca, I'm glad you brought this up, because we got to ask ourselves the question as Black folks in this country, what is the Black political candidate look like? If we had a chance to say, this is what our Black presidential person would look like, would it be Obama? Would it be a Cornel West? I think we got to have this part of the conversation.
Go back when you say look, we got to be very specific because some folks are superficial. Now, you talking about looks as in aesthetics or looks as in their philosophy, their moral consciousness, their way of life?
See, that's what I'm.
We got to be.
That's what I'm talking. Folks, and you know what? You're absolutely right, Corinna. You are absolutely right, sis. No, I don't know if it's about the physical looks. I'm talking about in terms of the philosophy and their personal politics. Like, what does that person look like?
Right.
Because every time I mean, I might be wrong, but it just seems like every time a Black person stands up and say, "Look, I'm running for the big seat," then other Black folks are like, "Well, you don't cut the mustard. You don't fit the bill of what we want." Okay, so who fits the bill? If it ain't Dr. West. We already had Obama for 2 terms, right? And now after he's gone, some of us are feeling disappointed. So we can't bring him back. We already have other Black folks that we aren't excited about. We're not excited about Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris. So who fits the bill?
I think we need to start with, well, what in the hell makes us excited to begin with? Because to your point, you said whenever one of us comes forward to say, I'm going to run for office, there's this pushback, right? But what makes us excited? There's so many folks, to your point, against Vice President Kamala Harris. And when you ask them for facts or information, what's informing your view, you get crickets. They're just spewing some of the same misinformation they see online or from an unreliable source or social media. Nothing, pertinent or actually a reliable source. So, what makes us excited about a candidate? And then to add to that, oftentimes we're so stuck on the rhetoric. I remember we were having a conversation some months ago about Vice President Kamala Harris when she came down here to Florida to basically go off on them saying that slavery was beneficial, for Black people, right? In the school curriculum, and she didn't necessarily utter the words Black, but I think she was having a governance conversation more or less because the majority of her audience was Black. And I think we need to pay attention to the policies that she has put in place that centers around Blackness. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't align with the rhetoric, the action, to your point, then it's meaningless. There's no substance and we don't have a path forward. We're just dwelling and feeling good in the moment of the rhetoric. And that's not good enough. That's not going to be enough to sustain us. So we got to be paying attention to what it is that they actually do, in addition to what it is that they're saying.
Absolutely. Vela Kent Esiso, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, Vela, but I appreciate you for being a part of the chat. You said, quote, I so agree with the sister regarding him choosing to smear President Obama. I did not like that at all and lost respect for Dr. West and would not support him. So we don't like him smearing Obama, and that's fine, but...
And if I may add just real quick, something that I didn't take too kind to, okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it.
Tell us what are you mad about, Corinna?
I'm not mad. I'm just saying, I think it was earlier this year, Dr. West was on CNN with I'm sorry, not CNN, I apologize. It was Fox News.
Right.
With I think, is it Laura Ingraham?
Okay.
And addressed her as Sister Laura. Now I don't know if that's just his way, but I don't feel that in my spirit to be like, come on, Sister Laura. No. Not someone who is blatantly racist and against us. So I feel like I get it if you needed to be in that arena to directly speak to that audience, but you could have just addressed her as Laura or even Miss Ingram. That's just a mess right there. That left a sour taste in my mouth. And I'm just...
But I want us to take note of what the stuff that we're saying. Like, okay, we don't like the fallout between him and Obama. You don't like how he addressed Sister Laura. But white candidates have said and done far more egregious things.
Oh, well, yeah, and I'm not saying that would eliminate, anyone's candidacy for me, but I'm just speaking to that was just something that stuck out to me. Now, there are some people who are just, one and done. You got to realize you're not going to agree with every single thing. And I'm with Linda Sarsour from Until Freedom, putting our best opponent in that position. That's how you got to look at it. Our best opponent.
Okay. So as we take out another pause, and I want to switch gears after this break, but who do you see as being somebody that is there anybody that comes to mind right now, whether they're in government, outside of government, of the type of person that we should be supporting? Since if it's not Cornel West as a third party candidate, do you have any names or anybody in mind?
So you mean supporting for 2024 or just in the future moving forward?
I mean, 2024 seems like it's going to be sewn up, but I'm saying maybe 2028.
I think 2028 and beyond, y'all really need to get out of y'all feelings, do some research, and get behind Vice President Kamala Harris. She's next in line. She has brought forth a lot of meaningful legislation. I think at the very least, we should be thoroughly researching what she has done as an attorney general, right, in California, as a senator. And also, we're scrutinizing her vice presidency, but no one's even taken into account all of the other things that she has done. And the last thing I'll say before we go to break, if we just go to her paper trail, in actuality, Farajii, she's actually more qualified to be president right now than even our beloved 44. And I'm going to just leave it there.
All right. There it is. We want to just leave it there. Here's my recommendation. Here's my quick recommendation. My recommendation is, if we're not going to support a third party candidate, a black man like a Dr. Cornel West, the least I think we could do, instead of write him off, is to look at his ideas and see which ideas we can promote and advocate for to be included in the overall Biden platform.
Right, you shouldn't just write anything off. See what these candidates
but Corinna, we got to say that. We got to say it, because some people would do just that. They will just write folks off. So I'm saying that, like if we want to taking this out of a space of personality worship and put it into a space of ideas and principles, then let's look at the ideas that Dr. West has proposed. Let's go to his website. Let's look at what are some of the ideas that we could possibly take from his platform, his agenda, his program, and advocate for. Which ones that, oh, okay, this makes sense. This seems like this will speak to the interests of Black America, speak to the interests of the poor, speak to the interests of the marginalized communities of this country. Let's push it here. Like I'm growing to get out of personality worship. I think Lana said it earlier. She was like, she's going to be, voting for the person that she believes is going to be in alignment with her interests, regardless if it's Dr. West or somebody purple. She said, I'll vote for a purple candidate too. But I'm saying,
we got to get out of that personality thing, Farajii.
We got to get out of the personality worship. That's all I'm saying. Like I see people in the chat talking about Dr. West's marital history and everything, and it's like, okay, I get all of this, but no candidate. There's no person. Let me get closer to the camera. There's no person. Jesus is not going to be president. There's no person that goes through this life that's clean. Everybody's going to have some baggage, some skeletons. Somebody. You're not going to like what they say here. Oh, I didn't like that there. Or I didn't like that. That's fine. But I'm saying if we want to really get down to the nuts and bolts of this situation, then we got to say, okay, do you discount one person and their brilliance and their body of work and all of that they bring to the culture and to the people because of one small thing, of one thing, right? No. We shoot ourselves in the foot. Like Black folks, we have a tendency to do that, not just in politics in general. That's a tendency. Let's like one thing can set us off. Like, oh no, it's like you go to a Black owned spot, you be like, you know what? They didn't bring the water on time. I'm never going back to there. It's the smallest things, but other people can just commit all type of egregious acts against us, and we justify it and we let it slide and all of that. We got to be a little bit more understanding of the places and the spaces that our people that we are coming from. We may not have it all together.
Once we understand politics are not about personalities, but voting our interests accordingly. Valued interest, least harm reduction and forward movement. But yeah,
absolutely.
We gotta go.
Absolutely. Let's take a break, y'all. Let's take a break. When we take our final pause, when we come forward, let's talk about what's happening in the state of Georgia and how they're doing their part to support the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me bring my sister Corinna Denise back into the frame here. There we go. All right, Corinna, let's talk about this is why Fridays, man. Fridays.
Wait, real quick, I'm just curious. Are they saying anything in the chat? I know I probably just pissed some folks off with VP Kamala Harris, but it's all okay.
I mean, anytime you bring up Kamala Harris,
somebody wants to fight you.
Anytime you the vice president, somebody's going to say, if Corinna Denise ever runs for office, I ain't voting for her, because I remember that time she was on that show. She talked about Kamala Harris. I ain't like that.
One and done.
We got no patience with ourselves, man. We got this much like you know what I'm saying, like, okay, you got this much to piss me off.
Got one mess up.
One mess up, man. I ain't like how they, I've seen people, you getting real petty, be like, I ain't like how that man wore this suit with them shoes. His socks were off the wrong color. You're like, damn, man. I'm serious. I'm very serious. No, I'm just saying. Hopefully, we can check ourselves. Like for real, for real. Like check ourselves because I don't know how many times the people that are currently standing in front of us, how many Freudian slips, how many things they said, how many things they. We gotta give our some of our people just a little bit grace. Just
Like
give
I
us
love
some grace.
44, but there's some things I didn't like. But I still love him. But yeah, there's just some things I didn't quite agree with. I didn't take too kindly to. But moving on.
Let's go to Georgia. Let's go down to Georgia. Georgia right now has done something. They're looking to change the game in terms of creating the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. They have a new bill that is aiming to empower Black student entrepreneurs. This is from the Griot folks, with Representative Nikema Williams, who's a Democrat out of Georgia. She introduced a bipartisan bill last month that would create a federal grant program to assist new entrepreneurs from HBCUs and other institutions geared toward minorities. She said, quote, Atlanta is at the bottom of the list for the racial wealth gap. And so now, as someone in a position of power, I have the opportunity to put policies in place that can actually change that. This is what she told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. She said the bill is co-sponsored by Representatives Alma Adams, the Democrat out of New York, Dwight Evans, the Democrat out of Pennsylvania, Brian Fitzpatrick, and Norma Torres, the Democrat out of California. And so this legislation would create a program within the SBA, the Small Business Association, to allow higher education institutions that serve minorities to apply for grants. You work in higher education. You work with college students. How does this work for you? How does this sound to you, Corinna?
I mean, it's awesome, especially with my friend and colleague, Shirley Cassius at the Scholarship Plug. Like we're knee deep in trying to find grants, right? Because Scholarship Plug is a nonprofit. So we need that money. We need to have more access. It's no easy feat. So especially just being an entrepreneur, a Black entrepreneur at that. So I think that's great. But if I'm not mistaken, Farajii, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is this only for students per se who are attending HBCUs?
Yes, they're attending HBCUs, but they are looking at some other institutions as well.
Okay, yeah, because I love HBCUs. I'm an avid supporter, but the college counselor in me, I can't help but just raise awareness to the fact that I think a lot of our Black students who are at predominantly white institutions fly under the radar, and they need our support too. A lot of times they do want to go to HBCUs, but it's just a matter of the cost. It's not always, an attainable goal to make sure all the expenses are covered, or even location. I hope that changes. That's especially why we do this work at the Scholarship Plug, so that you can literally get paid to go to college, the college of your choice, right? And not have to be worried with any burden or debt. But, our Black students at predominantly white institutions do need that support as well. So I hope, we can see some support for those students who might not necessarily be at HBCUs, so that we can include them in these opportunities as well.
Absolutely. The bill is introduced as the Minority Entrepreneurship Grant Program Act of 2023. Again, it will create this program within the SBA to allow higher education institutions that serve minorities to apply for grants, starting at $250,000 for student entrepreneurs, according to the details. That's a lot. It's only a lot. It's only a lot depending on the number of students. Like if it's only a $250,000 pot and you got, say, 10 students, you know what I'm saying, versus, 4 or 5 students. It depends on how many students would be given getting a little piece of that money.
Yeah.
And I would wonder, of course, some other questions would have to be answered, like, what type of ideas, what are there what type of businesses or what type of ventures would this support? Are you talking about in the tech space? Are you talking about in the health space? in the
What
policy
can I
space.
use the monies for? There's always a stipulation, when you get grant money, specifically how those funds have to be used. So yeah, we definitely got to read the fine print. But other than that, this is a great opportunity.
Great opportunity. Let's take a final pause when we come back from final words from Corinna and from you. Stay with us. It's the Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
All right, folks, welcome back. Let's bring our sister Corinna Denise back into the frame here. There we go. Now you asked about this, and we just talked about Georgia. I think Real Brooklyn said something. He said, Farajii, to me, this is a great program. I am willing to support. I have heard of this, and I think it's a great idea. As a SDVOSB owner, I can honestly say that programs like this create success.
Yeah.
So to create a Black entrepreneurship investment program for Black students is phenomenal. I think hopefully the bill gets passed down in Georgia, and I would love to see that in states across this country.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it, Corinna. I would love to absolutely see it. $250,000. Again, we don't know the details in terms of like how many students would be qualified to get that, or which industries, but it's a start. It's a huge start. And I think, Corinna, like a lot of these conversations that we have, if we want to change the trajectory of all of this stuff that we've been seeing and talking about, I think the conversations start right there in high school and colleges. I don't know why we don't invest more programs.
Even middle school. Even middle school,
right? Like, I just don't understand, like, we don't invest programs and awareness campaigns into going into these schools, having these conversations, because that's how you cultivate the next generation of leaders from across the board.
Very true. You start building up that momentum, and they're, playing off of their inquisitiveness and their curiosity. And it just prepares them, and they're focused, and they know what they want to do, or at least have some idea of that, Yeah.
Absolutely. You asked a question. Did you piss off a couple of people? And I'm here to answer. Yes, you did.
Hope y'all will like right now. I'm sure there's other people that piss you off too, and you don't let them know.
Hey, look, I'm just here for the comments. That's all I'm here for. I'm just here for the comments, Corinna. No, but you know what, though? At the end of the day, look, we all got our preferences. We all got our views on how to win. So at this point, I'm not even upset. But yeah, if some folks are not happy with this idea.
We just gotta stay focused. We can't, be brought down by rhetoric. Let's look at the policies. Let's not just look at the personalities, and make sure you have all your facts, that they align, and that you have thoroughly done your research. So I will speak to that, and I think VP's record speaks for itself. But go and look it up for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The information is there.
And guess what? And give some of our people, I'm not saying everybody, but we got to give some people grace. Some grace.
That's true.
Just a little bit, Corinna. Just a tad bit. I'm not saying it's got, you know what I'm saying? Because we're coming into a system that's established to keep us in a certain space and to keep us in a subservient space. We're not coming into a system. I'm talking about political leadership. Hell, we can talk about business. Like any industry or system that we come into as Black folks, we're coming into it on the bottom. We're already coming with 4 and 5 strikes against it. So at this point, it's like we're trying to like turn the Titanic from the iceberg with a plastic fork.
Wow. Interesting analogy.
There it is. I mean, that's what it's a lot of work and it's a lot of work. People that were once oppressed and literally physically enslaved, and now we're in a position now that we are in the system to create. I mean, that is, look at that history. You talked about looking at the history of people, but look at the history of Black people where we were physically enslaved, and now we're talking about being president of the same system that enslaved us.
Well, unfortunately, some of us are still enslaved here.
Why are you trying to start a new show?
I'm just saying. Another topic for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Look, I gotta go, but my sister Corinna Denise, make sure y'all follow her on all social media platforms. Y'all know her here as Corinna Denise, but in the streets of social media, she is known as Ren84.
Thank you for shouting out my social media. I appreciate it.
Y'all follow Ren, y'all. Yo, go and follow. There you go. There you go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you see that profile pic, right? Part of my style.
Look at that. Ren.
Thank you for having me, Farajii. Always
absolutely. Hey, yo, can y'all pull up my Instagram? Pull up my Instagram because I need some new followers.
Farajii's feeling a type of way because y'all only pulled up my Instagram.
You're damn right I'm feeling a certain type of way. Pull up my damn Instagram.
Pull up his Instagram, We're going to give him a little satisfaction.
Hold on, wait a minute. Which picture y'all pulling up? Because I don't want no...
no.
Let me stop playing. Make sure y'all follow Ren and follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can follow me at The Real Farajii on Instagram. I tell you, where's my Instagram page?
Y'all making Farajii feel away now, or maybe they're just letting you know you got to rap Farajii.
The Denzel
your Instagram today.
The Denzel tears about to start flowing down the cheek, man.
Oh,
there it go.
There it is.
Look at that guy. There we go.
So you got your 5 seconds in. I hope that's good.
Damn, that's patronizing. Like you got your you got an Instagram page. All right, so follow me on Instagram. Also follow us on Instagram, Black Star Network. Y'all can go to our Instagram page. There we go. Black Star Network. Follow us on all our social media platforms. But just definitely follow us on our Instagram page. Also follow Roland Martin if you haven't already. Follow him on his Instagram page as well. And we truly appreciate the support. Go to our website as well. Download the app. Follow us on Instagram and social media. And give, right, Corinna? Give.
Yes,
support Black Star Network.
Black Star Network. Support this network, y'all.
Absolutely. All right, Corinna Denise, thank you so much for being so good for the culture. We truly appreciate you. God willing, we'll reconnect with you next week. And Dick's peace, Sister Corinna. And certainly I want to thank my dynamic production team for a fantastic week. Thank you. And all of my illustrious culture crew members. I hope you enjoyed today's show and all this week's shows. And more importantly, I thank y'all so much for providing your insight and analysis on all of these conversations. And I truly couldn't thank you enough. So thank you again. All right, stay tuned. Up next, 6 p.m. Eastern Time is Rolling Out Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk on Monday, for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Have a great weekend and talk to you soon. Peace.